The month of May 2025 etched a grim new chapter in the annals of the Russo-Ukrainian War. The skies over Ukraine, particularly above its capital, Kiev, became a stage for unprecedented aerial warfare. Russia unleashed a torrent of missiles and drones, testing Ukrainian defenses and civilian resilience to their limits. Amidst the chaos of bombardment, a significant diplomatic maneuver unfolded. A historic prisoner swap, the largest of its kind since the war began, saw hundreds of soldiers return to their respective homelands. This complex exchange, brokered through painstaking negotiations, offered a rare glimmer of humanity in an otherwise bleak landscape. Yet, this act of reciprocity was starkly juxtaposed against the backdrop of intensified military onslaughts. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky issued impassioned pleas for more robust international support and condemnation of Russia's actions. He pointedly criticized what he perceived as a damaging silence from key global players, particularly the United States. Meanwhile in Washington, then-President Donald Trump voiced his own frustrations, expressing displeasure with Putin's aggressive moves. The events of late May 2025 presented a complex tapestry of violence, diplomacy, and international tension. The significant prisoner exchange demonstrated that even in the depths of conflict, agreements could be reached, yet the overarching narrative was one of increasing danger. The night leading into Sunday, May 25, 2025, will be remembered for the sheer scale of Russia's aerial assault. A staggering combination of 69 missiles of various types and 298 Shahed-type drones were launched towards Ukrainian territory. The primary target appeared to be the capital city, Kiev, but the onslaught was widespread, affecting an additional 21 locations across the nation. Ukrainian air defense forces managed to intercept a significant portion of the barrage. 47 of the missiles and 266 of the drones were reportedly shot down. The psychological impact on the civilian population, enduring hours of air raid sirens, was immense. This record-breaking assault followed closely on the heels of another severe wave of Russian attacks just the previous day, Saturday, May 24th. Those earlier strikes had already resulted in at least 13 fatalities. The nature of the weaponry deployed indicated a multi-pronged approach. Civilian buildings in multiple districts of Kyiv reported damage, underscoring the indiscriminate nature of such large-scale bombardments. The human toll of Russia's intensified aerial campaign in late May 2025 was immediate and devastating. Across Ukraine, the attacks on Sunday, May 25th, claimed the lives of at least 12 people. Dozens more sustained injuries, overwhelming local medical facilities already strained by years of conflict. Among the most heart-wrenching losses were those in the Zhytomyr region, where 3 children from the same family were killed when their home was struck. Ihor Klimenko, Ukraine's internal affairs minister, confirmed these tragic deaths. Civilian buildings, including residential apartments, schools, and critical infrastructure, suffered significant damage in multiple districts, particularly in Kyiv. Air raid sirens blared for hours on end, forcing residents into shelters, disrupting daily life, and instilling a pervasive sense of fear and uncertainty. The psychological scars of such experiences often linger long after the physical damage has been repaired. The cumulative effect of these relentless assaults was a deepening humanitarian crisis. In the face of Russia's most ferocious aerial assault of the war, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky delivered a powerful and pointed message to the international community. On Sunday, May 25, 2025, he did not mince words, stating unequivocally that America's silence and the silence of others in the world only encourages Putin. Zelensky's frustration was palpable, reflecting the immense pressure on his nation and its leadership. He urgently called for the imposition of new, significantly stronger sanctions against Russia. Without really strong pressure on the Russian leadership, this brutality cannot be stopped, Zelensky asserted. His plea was for tangible consequences, for actions that would go beyond rhetoric and impose a real cost on Russia for its continued attacks on Ukrainian sovereignty and civilian lives. The backdrop to Zelensky's impassioned speech was the relentless bombardment of Ukrainian cities and the mounting civilian casualties. His leadership continued to rally his nation, but external support remained critical. Amidst the carnage, a historic exchange of souls. In a striking counterpoint to the escalating violence, Sunday, May 25, 2025, also witnessed the largest single prisoner swap of the entire three-year war. This remarkable event saw over 600 individuals, almost evenly divided between Russian and Ukrainian servicemen, returned to their respective sides. Russia's defense ministry confirmed the exchange, stating that 303 Russian servicemen were traded for 303 Ukrainian prisoners of war. This moment of organized compassion offered a rare instance of de-escalation and cooperation, standing in stark contrast to the missiles and drones that simultaneously filled the skies. The successful execution of such a large and complex prisoner exchange, amidst heightened military hostilities, underscored the continued existence of back channels and the capacity for pragmatic agreements even between bitter adversaries. It highlighted the work of negotiators and intermediaries who toiled, often away from the public eye, to achieve these breakthroughs. While the exchange did not signal an end to the broader conflict, it provided a tangible demonstration that diplomatic efforts could yield positive outcomes. Washington's gaze trumps displeasure and diplomatic strains. The record-breaking Russian air assaults on Ukraine elicited a notable reaction from the United States, then under the presidency of Donald Trump. On that same Sunday, May 25, 2025, President Trump publicly expressed his frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin. "We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities," Trump stated, conveying a sense of exasperation. He added, "He's killing a lot of people. I don't like it at all." This direct criticism of Putin's actions, particularly while unspecified talks were supposedly underway, marked a significant moment in the U.S. response to the ongoing war. President Trump's comments were particularly noteworthy given his previous stance on sanctions. He had earlier indicated a reluctance to join in imposing new sanctions on Russia. However, in light of the intensified attacks, he remarked that this position could change. The potential for new sanctions, even if not immediately enacted, served as a warning to Moscow. The widening gyre retaliation and the specter of escalation. The intensified Russian aerial campaign did not occur in a vacuum, as Ukraine also demonstrated its capacity to strike back across the border. On the same Sunday, May 25, 2025, Russia's defense ministry claimed its forces had intercepted or destroyed approximately 100 Ukrainian attack drones over its own territory. These alleged incursions primarily targeted central and southern regions of Russia. Notably, 13 of these drones were reportedly downed over the Moscow and Tver regions, bringing the conflict closer to the Russian capital and signaling Ukraine's growing reach and willingness to retaliate directly. This pattern of cross-border attacks and retaliations highlights the dangerous escalatory dynamics of the war. While Russia's assaults on Ukraine were on a vastly larger scale in terms of ordnance and immediate casualties, Ukraine's drone strikes served as a persistent reminder that Russia was not immune to the consequences of the conflict it initiated. This tit-for-tat escalation, with both sides pushing the boundaries of their offensive capabilities, created an increasingly perilous situation. The unsettled peace implications of a brutal spring. The events of late May 2025, marked by Russia's ferocious air assaults and a concurrent historic prisoner exchange, carried profound implications for the future of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The sheer scale of the Russian bombardment demonstrated Moscow's unwavering commitment to its military objectives, or perhaps its desperation to achieve a breakthrough through overwhelming force. This escalation suggested that any hopes for a swift conclusion to the war, or even a significant de-escalation in the near term, were overly optimistic. The conflict appeared to be entering a phase of intensified attrition, with devastating consequences for civilians. President Zelensky's pointed criticism of America's silence and that of the wider world underscored the growing strain on Ukraine and its leadership. His call for stronger sanctions highlighted the perceived inadequacy of current international pressure to deter Russian aggression. The massive prisoner swap, while a positive humanitarian development, occurred against a grim backdrop. It showed that even amidst heightened hostilities, channels for negotiation and agreement could function. Ultimately, the brutal spring of 2025 left the international community facing renewed challenges.